I did everything right, I followed every single rule of my restrictive diet, and I still gained weight. A single cookie could send me into a guilt spiral. Then I discovered one simple daily target that finally let me eat ice cream, cake and pizza without shame and completely transformed my relationship with food. Let me show you what finally worked. My journey into the dark world of food guilt started ironically with a diet that was supposed to give me freedom. It was one of those plans where whole food groups are evil and totally off limits, but you can eat as much as you want of the allowed foods. On paper it sounded amazing. No counting calories, no tiny portions, and I could eat until I was full as long as I stuck to the rules. I politely said no to cake at birthday parties, and I would scan restaurant menus for anything that fits my rigid new life. For the first few weeks I felt this sense of control, a kind of righteous pride even in how disciplined I was. But then something weird happened. Even though I was following the diet perfectly, the number on the scale started to creep up. It wasn't a lot at first, just like a pound here and a pound there, but it was enough to plant this seed of panic. I was eating clean. I was avoiding all the forbidden stuff, processed sugar, candy, cake, you name it. So how could I possibly be gaining weight? This is where things started to get really messy in my head. My brain went into overdrive trying to solve a problem that felt impossible. The diet had created a very black and white world for me. There were good foods and there were those bad foods. And my logic, all twisted by diet culture, decided that if the good foods were making me gain weight, then the bad foods must be an absolute catastrophe. They weren't just unhealthy anymore, they were poison. A single bite would ruin everything. And this way of thinking was so damaging because my sense of morality got completely tangled up with my food choices. So eating a salad made me a good person, and even thinking about the brownie made me a bad, weak and undisciplined person. So food wasn't about nourishment or enjoyment anymore. It was a constant test of my character, and I felt like I was always failing. The fear became this physical thing. I would see friends post pictures of pizza on social media and feel a real pang of anxiety. Social events with foods, they became minefields, and I would either eat beforehand, bring my own food so I could politely refuse everything, or I would just make up an excuse to not go at all. And the isolation was just sad, to be honest. My brain was so full of thoughts about food and my body that there wasn't room for much else. And the guilt? It was all consuming. On the rare occasion I did break a rule, the aftermath was brutal. For the rest of the day my mind would be a torture chamber. Why did you do that? You have zero self-control. You have ruined everything. Might as well just give up. It was this relentless inner critique that just fed on shame. And this cycle of restricting, then having a tiny rebellion, and then being crushed by guilt, that was just exhausting. And I was trapped and I was following all the rules. But instead of the results I was promised, I was just getting heavier, more anxious, and more miserable than ever. The breaking point wasn't some big dramatic moment. It was more of a slow, crushing realization that I just couldn't live like this anymore. And it all came to me when my mental health stopped being the only thing that suffered. I evolved massive physical problems as well. I spent hours on my phone looking up menus for every single possible restaurant, trying to find something that fits my impossible rules. And when we would go to dinner, then I would watch my family laugh and share these plates of forbidden food and these incredible desserts. And I would just sit there with my plate of grilled vegetables. And many times my family and friends came up to me with a very serious look on their face. Try some of this, it won't kill you. Why don't you just join us on the real food? Are you even satisfied with just that? They said, and they were laughing at my food choices. And honestly, sometimes I got really mad. I physically pulled back from everyone offering me a taste of their food that they knew I wouldn't even eat in the first place. But at the same time, the look on their face is something that I personally will never ever forget. I mean, what was I doing? I had let this fear of food get such a powerful control over me that it was stealing my joy, my connections, and these simple, beautiful moments that make up a life. And I was letting it hurt people that I loved. I was sacrificing my mental and physical health for a set of stupid rules that weren't even working for me. And I was gaining weight, pushing away people. And I was so tired of this. I was tired of the constant jokes, tired of the fear to get even more out of shape, and tired of the guilt, tired of saying no to my own life. And the thought of living like this any longer, it was suddenly way more terrifying than the thought of eating a piece of cake. And I knew I had to find a different way. I had to be willing to break all these rules that I was clinging to because they were the things that were breaking me and getting me sick. 1 year ago in December 2024, I knew I had to completely rebuild my relationship with food, but I had no idea where to even start because of all of the conflicting advice out there, and I would hear about many different diets that I personally didn't even try yet, and some of them sounded really nice, to be fair, but it also felt totally wrong to hop onto the next diet after failing so many times already. So I decided I needed a bridge, something that wasn't as punishing as my old diets, but also more structured than a total free-for-all. What I needed is a system to help me rebuild trust with myself. So I started researching not diets, but actual nutrition. And I read about metabolism and how muscles are built and what macronutrients actually do in your body and all of that stuff. And I started noticing a common theme in the science-backed stuff, the importance of protein. Protein helps you feel full and satisfied, and it's key for holding on to muscle, especially when your body is under a lot of stress. And that gave me an idea. What if instead of focusing on everything I could not eat, I focused on what I needed to eat? What if I just flipped the whole script? And that was how my simple daily target was born. The target was really simple: hit a protein goal and a calorie goal. So I used an online calculator to get a rough estimate of my daily calorie needs, and I set a minimum protein target of 0.8 grams per pound of my body weight. These weren't meant to be obsessive, rigid numbers. They were a framework, a daily nutritional foundation. So here was the new rule. My job every day was to hit my protein goal within my calorie budget, mostly using nutrient-dense foods. And I would front load my day with protein-rich meals. And then, and this is the part that changed everything, once that foundation was set, I had unconditional permission to eat whatever else I wanted. If I hit my protein goal, was inside my calorie target, and I still wanted a cookie, then I could have that cookie. A scoop of ice cream? Yeah, fine. A slice of pizza? Absolutely. The mental shift was huge. This reframed treats not as failure of willpower, but as something I could enjoy after I would have already taken care of my body needs. And it was not about restriction anymore. It was about nourishment first and then enjoyment. You could say I was basically making a deal with myself. It was like, okay, first we are going to give your body the protein and energy it needs to feel good and strong. We are going to do that responsible adult thing. And after that, the pressure is off and the rest is just for fun. This wasn't a diet. It was a strategy, and it gave my anxious, rule-loving brain a clear job to do. But you know, that job was about nourishment and not to deprive my body. It was the bridge that I desperately needed to get back to sanity. The first time I ate a cookie after hitting my protein goal, I was scared and it felt totally weird, but nothing catastrophic happened. I didn't lose control and I didn't eat the whole box of cookies. I just felt relieved. And that's when everything started to change. By giving myself structured permission to enjoy treats after nourishing my body, those forbidden foods lost their power over me and the guilt disappeared. I stopped panicking at restaurants and could actually enjoy meals with my family again. I kept ice cream in my freezer without fear. My weight finally stabilized. I had more energy. I slept better. And that crushing anxiety melted away. Turns out the constant restricting was the problem all along. Now food became just food again. It's not good, not bad, and for the first time in years I felt truly free. Not freedom from food, but freedom with food. Overcoming food guilt wasn't about finding the perfect diet or unlocking some secret level of willpower. It was about changing the entire game that I was playing. I stopped playing the game of restriction and shame, and I started playing the game of nourishment and trust. And my simple daily target, that worked because it gave me a sense of control that was based on self-care and not self-punishment. It proved to me that I could take care of my health and enjoy life. That those two things don't have to be at war with each other. It taught me that food isn't the enemy. The real enemy is the guilt that diet culture taught us to feel. If you are struggling right now, please know that you are not alone and you don't have to live in that prison of guilt forever. Freedom is possible, and it starts with rejecting the rules that were forced on you and creating a new system for yourself, one based on compassion, flexibility, and the belief that you deserve to enjoy food without a sight of shame. And if you are really lost and you need someone to guide you, check out the description below. You will find everything you need. If you want to know the full story of my transformation, you can check out my other videos for more helpful information and tips. Don't forget to subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.